The morning started like any other Tuesday for most people on Earth. Coffee was brewing, traffic was moving, and children were getting ready for school. Then the sky went dark. Massive ships appeared above every major city on the planet. They came without warning, without sound, just suddenly there. Each ship was huge, bigger than any building humans had ever made. They blocked out the sun and cast long shadows across the streets below. In New York City, people stopped walking and looked up. Cars pulled over as drivers stared through their windshields at the enormous vessel hanging over Manhattan. The ship was purple and black, with strange markings along its sides that seemed to glow and shift. Admiral Jake Morrison was in his office at the Pentagon when the alerts started flooding in. Every screen in the building showed the same thing. Giant alien ships over Washington, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, and dozens of other cities. His phone rang constantly as reports came in from around the world. Dr. Lisa Campbell was in her lab at Johns Hopkins University when her assistant Kevin Park burst through the door. He was holding his tablet and breathing hard like he had run across campus. "Dr. Campbell, you need to see this right now," Kevin said, his voice shaking. "They're everywhere." "The ships, I mean, all over the world." Lisa looked at the screen. Kevin handed her. The news was showing live footage from every continent. The same type of massive ships hovering over cities everywhere. She had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life, but seeing it happen was completely different from imagining it. At the White House, President Alex Turner was rushed into the Situation Room deep underground. The room was full of his top advisors, all talking at once and trying to make sense of what was happening. The large screens on the walls showed feeds from satellites and news cameras around the world. General Pete Collins, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was standing at the main display pointing to different locations. "Mr. President, we count over 200 ships total. They're positioned over every major population center and military installation." "Any communication attempts?" Turner asked. "None yet, sir. They're just sitting there." Then it happened. Every television, radio, computer, and phone on Earth suddenly displayed the same image. An alien face filled the screens. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The creature had multiple eyes, each one a different size, arranged around what might have been a head. Its skin looked like armor, dark and shiny with a metallic sheen. When it spoke, the voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. Somehow, everyone on Earth heard it in their own language. "Primitive humans of Earth," the alien began. "I am War Prime Zeth Kar of the Hegemony of Worlds. Your species has been observed and judged. You are weak, divided, and unworthy of independence." In the Pentagon, Admiral Morrison grabbed the nearest phone to contact the White House. Around the world, military leaders were doing the same thing. Everyone was trying to coordinate a response to something no one had ever prepared for. The alien continued speaking. "The hegemony has brought order to 847 worlds. Each one thought they were special. Each one thought they could resist. All of them learned they were wrong." Dr. Campbell was recording everything on her equipment while taking notes as fast as she could write. This was the first contact with alien life in human history, and it was happening as a threat rather than a peaceful meeting. "You have 72 of your hours to surrender completely," War Prime Zeth Kar announced. "Disarm all your weapons. Dissolve your governments. Prepare your people for integration into the hegemony. Resistance will result in the total destruction of your species." The alien's multiple eyes seemed to stare directly at each person watching. "Do not mistake this for negotiation. This is an ultimatum. We have never failed to conquer a world. We have never been defeated in battle. We have never shown mercy to those who defy us." In homes around the world, families gathered around their televisions and phones, watching in stunned silence. Children asked their parents what was happening. Adults tried to explain something they didn't understand themselves. "Your weapons are primitive," the alien continued. "Your technology is laughable. Your unity is non-existent. You wage war against each other while greater powers watch from the stars. You are everything we despise about lesser species. President Turner felt anger building in his chest as he listened to the alien's words. Around him, his advisors were taking notes and whispering to each other about response options. But Turner was focused on the creature's tone more than its words. There was something about the way it spoke that reminded him of a school bully. "We offer you one chance to avoid extinction," War Prime Zethkar said. "Submit now, and some of you will be allowed to live as servants to your betters. Refuse, and we will turn your cities to glass and your oceans to steam. The choice is yours, but choose quickly." The hegemony does not wait for lesser beings. The transmission ended abruptly. Every screen went back to normal programming, but the normal program seemed absurd now. How could anyone talk about weather or sports when alien warships were hanging over every major city? In the White House Situation Room, everyone looked at President Turner. He was staring at the main screen, which now showed a map of the world, with red dots marking each alien ship. The silence stretched for almost a minute. Then Turner started to laugh. It started as a small chuckle, but it grew louder. Soon he was laughing so hard he had to hold onto the table for support. General Collins looked concerned and started to ask if the president was all right, but then Collins started laughing too. The absurdity of the situation, the pompous way the alien had spoken, the sheer ridiculousness of someone threatening the entire human race over a loudspeaker, it struck him as funny rather than terrifying. Within minutes, most of the people in the Situation Room were laughing. Not because they weren't scared, but because the alternative was panic, and panic wouldn't help anyone. "Sir?" Admiral Morrison's voice came through the secure phone line. "What are your orders?" Turner wiped tears from his eyes and took a deep breath. "Get me Colonel Danny Brooks from Special Operations, and tell someone to call the kitchen. We're going to need a lot more coffee. This is going to be a long few days." "What should I tell the press, Mr. President?" asked his Chief of Staff, Turner. Looked at the screen showing the alien ships. "Tell them we're reviewing the aliens' generous offer. Tell them we'll have a response soon. And tell them to stay calm and keep living their lives." He paused and looked around the room at his advisors. "Also, call the mayors of every major city. Tell them to set up food trucks and entertainment near the alien ships. If these bullies want to hover over our cities and try to scare us, let's show them what a real human block party looks like." As the meeting broke up and people rushed to their tasks, Turner remained in the Situation Room staring at the displays. 72 hours to decide the fate of humanity. The alien had been very clear about what would happen if Earth refused to surrender, but there was something about War Prime Zethkar's speech that bothered Turner. The alien had been too confident, too sure that humans would simply give up. It reminded him of every bully he had ever encountered in his life. They were always most aggressive when they were least sure of themselves. Turner picked up the secure phone and dialed a number from memory. "This is the president. I need to speak with our best people in psychological warfare. We're going to find out what makes these aliens tick, and then we're going to use it against them." The news of the alien ultimatum spread across Earth faster than any story in human history. Within 6 hours, every person on the planet knew about the 72-hour deadline. But something strange was happening. Instead of panic and chaos, humans were doing something completely unexpected. They were throwing parties in Times Square. Food trucks had lined up along Broadway. The smell of hot dogs, pizza, and coffee filled the air beneath the massive alien ship. Street performers were doing magic tricks and playing music while people sat on folding chairs, eating and looking up at their uninvited guests. Maria Santos, who owned a food cart in Manhattan, had never sold so many hot dogs in one day. "People keep asking me if I'm scared," she told a news reporter. "Sure, I'm scared. But being scared doesn't mean I stop living. These aliens want us to surrender? Well, they can wait while I make lunch." Captain Helen Wright was standing in her command center in London, staring at orders that made no sense. She read them 3 times before picking up her secure phone, too. "Call her superior." "Sir, I need to confirm these orders," she said when General Murphy answered. "You want me to set up barbecue grills in Trafalgar Square?" "That's correct, Captain. Operation Barbecue is approved by the Prime Minister himself. We're going to show these aliens what British hospitality looks like. But sir, there's an alien warship directly overhead threatening to destroy us. I know, Captain. That's exactly why we're having a barbecue. Now get those grills set up and make sure there's plenty of tea. In Tokyo, Commander Roy Martinez was coordinating with his Japanese counterparts as they received similar strange orders. Giant television screens were being installed in city centers around the world. Military personnel were setting up what looked like outdoor festivals rather than defensive positions. Commander Martinez, his Japanese liaison Colonel Tanaka said, "My government wants to confirm that your president really ordered this." "Yes, Colonel. Operation Block Party is happening in every major city. Food, music, and entertainment." The president's exact words were, "If they want to hover over our cities and try to intimidate us, let's show them how humans really party." Dr. Lisa Campbell had barely slept since the alien broadcast. She was in her laboratory with Kevin Park, analyzing every second of the alien transmission. Her equipment was running constantly, breaking down the alien language, studying their technology and looking for any weakness. "Doctor, I think I found something important," Kevin said, looking up from his computer screen. "I've been studying the formation of their ships and their energy signatures." "What did you find?" Lisa asked, not looking away from her microscope, where she was examining recordings of the alien broadcast. "Their ships are incredibly powerful, but they're positioned all wrong for a real military operation." "Look at this." Kevin turned his screen so Lisa could see it. No defensive formations, no tactical spacing, no backup positions. They're just hanging there like they're expecting everyone to give up immediately. Lisa stopped what she was doing and looked at Kevin's analysis. "You're right, this isn't how you position a fleet for battle. This is how you position a fleet for intimidation." "There's more," Kevin continued. "I've been analyzing their energy patterns. These ships have enough power to destroy cities, but they're not charging their weapons. They're just sitting there running basic systems." In Colorado, deep inside the NORAD Command Center, Colonel Danny Brooks was assembling a team of Special Operations veterans. The mountain facility was buzzing with activity as personnel analyzed the alien threat and prepared response options. Sergeant Amy Walsh was checking her equipment when Staff Sergeant Chris Murphy walked over with a tablet full of intelligence reports. "Boss, you need to see this," Murphy said to Colonel Brooks. "I've been going through all the data we have on these hegemony aliens." "What did you find?" Brooks asked. "They claim to have conquered 847 worlds, right? But here's the weird part. Every single conquest happened exactly the same way. The aliens show up, give their 72-hour ultimatum, and the planet surrenders every time. No variation, no battles, no resistance." Amy Walsh looked up from her weapons check. "That doesn't make sense. 800 worlds and not one of them tried to fight back." "That's what I thought too," Murphy continued. "So I dug deeper into their broadcast. The way they talk about their conquests, they never mention actual battles. They never describe tactics or casualties or victories. They just say they conquered worlds." Colonel Brooks nodded slowly. "Which means they might never have actually fought a real war." Meanwhile, around the world, something remarkable was happening. Instead of cowering in fear, humans were treating the alien invasion like the world's biggest street festival. Social media was flooded with photos of people having picnics under alien ships, children drawing pictures of the strange vessels, and families gathering to watch the sky together. In snow polo, local restaurants had moved their tables outside so customers could eat while watching the alien ship. In Sydney, surfers were still hitting the beaches, occasionally looking up at their extraterrestrial visitors between waves. In Cairo, vendors were selling alien invasion survival kits that contained nothing but snacks and bottled water. President Turner was getting reports from around the world, and each one made him smile a little more. His Secretary of Defense, General Patricia Stone, was reading from a list of activities happening in major cities. "Mr. President, in Paris they've organized a massive outdoor concert in the shadow of the alien ship. In Berlin they're having the largest beer festival in German history. In Moscow they've set up ice skating rinks. And in Mexico City, they're having a celebration that the mayor described as the party to end all parties. What about our military preparations? Turner asked. Proceeding as planned, sir. Colonel Brooks has his teams in position. Dr. Campbell is making progress on understanding alien technology. Admiral Morrison has all our assets ready to deploy. But, sir, the aliens might be getting confused by our response. Confused how? General Stone showed Turner her tablet. Our intelligence services have been monitoring alien communications. They're sending messages back and forth between their ships, and the computer translations suggest they're not sure what to make of us. Turner looked at the translated alien messages. They were full of phrases like unprecedented behavior and population appears unaffected by intimidation protocols, and recommend consulting command for guidance on human psychological anomaly. They expected us to panic, Turner said, double quotes. Yes, sir. And instead we're having the biggest party in human history. In her laboratory, Dr. Campbell made a breakthrough. Kevin, come look at this. I've been analyzing the linguistic patterns in their ultimatum speech. Kevin hurried over to her workstation. What did you find, Doctor? This speech wasn't written for us specifically. Look at the structure, the word choices, the phrasing. This is a template. They'd given this exact same speech to hundreds of worlds. A template? Think about it. Why would you use the same speech for every conquest unless you were sure it would work every time? And why would it work every time unless no one had ever said no? The implications hit both of them at the same time. Kevin sat down heavily in his chair. Doctor, are you saying what I think you're saying? I think these aliens are cosmic bullies who have never had anyone stand up to them. They've been using fear and intimidation for so long, they don't know what to do when someone refuses to be intimidated. As the 48-hour mark approached, the contrast between human and alien behavior became even more stark. The aliens remained silent in their ships, while humans below were living their lives with defiant normalcy. Children went to school, adults went to work. Couples got married in ceremonies held deliberately in the shadows of alien vessels. The aliens had expected terror. They got barbecues. They had expected chaos. They got street festivals. They had expected surrender. They got a species that seemed to treat an invasion ultimatum as an excuse to throw the greatest party in planetary history. In Washington, President Turner was preparing for his response to the alien ultimatum. But first, he wanted to understand his enemy better. He called Dr. Campbell directly. Doctor, in your professional opinion, what are we dealing with here? Mr. President, I believe we're dealing with a species that has built their entire empire on bluff and intimidation. They've never encountered resistance because they've never needed to. Every world they've threatened has surrendered immediately. And what happens when someone calls their bluff? I don't think they know, sir. I don't think they've ever had to find out. Turner smiled. Then I think it's time we taught them. As the deadline approached, humans around the world were not preparing to surrender. They were preparing to show the galaxy what happened when someone threatened humanity's home. 24 hours before the alien deadline, President Turner walked up the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Behind him, engineers had worked all night to install a massive holographic projector on top of the Washington Monument. The hologram showed a giant middle finger pointed directly at the alien ship hovering over the Capitol. Thousands of people had gathered on the National Mall. They came from all over the country, driving through the night to be there when their president gave humanity's answer to the alien ultimatum. Food trucks lined the streets. Families sat on blankets eating picnic lunches. Children played games while their parents watched the sky. The alien ship cast a shadow over the entire scene. But no one seemed to care. If anything, people were using the shadow as shade from the summer sun. President Turner stepped up to the microphone. Every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth carried his voice. In Times Square, the crowd stopped talking to listen. In London, people gathered around pub televisions. In Tokyo, giant screens showed the president's face as he began to speak. My fellow humans, Turner began, we received an interesting message from our visitors upstairs a couple days ago. They want us to surrender. They want us to give up our freedom, our families, our future. They want us to kneel down and accept slavery. The crowd on the National Mall erupted in angry shouts and boos directed at the alien ship overhead. Similar reactions echoed from gatherings around the world. Now, I don't know much about these hegemony folks, Turner continued, but I do know something about bullies. They like to make big threats, they like to sound scary, but they only pick on people they think won't fight back. In the Pentagon, Admiral Morrison was watching the speech alongside his senior staff. Every military installation on Earth was at full alert, but the preparations looked nothing like a traditional military response. Instead of hiding in bunkers, soldiers were setting up equipment in full view of the alien ships. The thing about bullies, Turner said, his voice growing stronger, is that they've usually never been in a real fight. They're used to people backing down. They're used to getting their way through fear alone. Dr. Campbell was in her laboratory, monitoring alien communications during the president's speech. Kevin Park was at another workstation, recording everything for analysis. The alien chatter had increased dramatically since Turner started talking. "Doctor, you need to hear this," Kevin said, adjusting his headphones. "The aliens are going crazy up there. Their communications are full of panic. They keep saying things like unprecedented response and no protocol for this situation. So we were right," Campbell said. "They've never dealt with anyone who said no." On the National Mall, President Turner pulled out a simple handheld radio. The device looked tiny in his hands, but everyone knew it was connected to the most powerful communication systems on Earth. "War Prime Zeth Kar," Turner said into the radio. "This is President Alex Turner of the United States of America, speaking for every human being on this planet. We've thought about your generous offer of slavery and extinction." The crowd fell completely silent. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing to listen. "Our answer is no." The cheering that followed could be heard from space. Every major city on Earth erupted in celebration. Car horns honked, church bells rang, and people danced in the streets, but Turner wasn't finished. "Furthermore," he continued, "when the noise died down, you now have 24 hours to leave our solar system peacefully. If you're still here tomorrow, we'll make you leave. Have a nice day." The president handed the radio to an aide and walked away from the microphone. Behind him, the holographic middle finger continued pointing at the alien ship. Within minutes, every communication device on Earth crackled to life with an alien response. War Prime Zeth Kar's face appeared on screens worldwide, his multiple eyes blazing with fury. "Foolish humans!" the alien screamed. "You dare defy the hegemony of worlds? You think your primitive weapons can challenge our might? Very well. When your cities burn and your children scream, remember that you chose this fate." But something unexpected was happening in the alien fleet. Colonel Brooks and his intelligence team had been monitoring alien communications around the clock. And what they heard after Turner's speech surprised everyone. "Sir, you're not going to believe this," Sergeant Amy Walsh reported to Brooks. "The aliens are panicking up there. Their internal communications are completely chaotic." Brooks put on headphones to listen to the translated alien chatter himself. Ship commanders were demanding orders from their superiors. Junior officers were asking questions about combat protocols and resistance procedures. Most telling of all, there were repeated requests for guidance on unprecedented situations. "They don't know what to do," Brooks said. "They've never had to actually fight anyone." Dr. Campbell burst into the command center, carrying her tablet and looking excited. "Colonel Brooks, I need to share my analysis with you immediately." "What did you find, Doctor?" "Kevin and I have been studying 800 years of hegemony communications and historical records. Every single world they claim to have conquered surrendered within their 72-hour window. Every single one." She showed Brooks her data on the tablet. No battles, no casualties, no military campaigns. Just ultimatums followed by immediate surrender. Staff Sergeant Murphy looked up from his intelligence reports. "Doctor, are you saying they've never actually fought a war?" "That's exactly what. I'm saying the hegemony isn't a military empire. They're a protection racket that operates on a galactic scale. They show up, make threats, and civilizations surrender rather than risk destruction. But they've never had to back up their threats with action. Admiral Morrison joined the discussion via secure video link from the Pentagon. If that's true, then we have a significant advantage. But we still don't know what their ships are actually capable of. We're about to find out, Brooks said. Because based on their communications, they're planning to attack at the deadline tomorrow. Around the world, humans were making final preparations. But these weren't the preparations of a species ready to surrender. In hidden facilities that had been built over decades, weapons systems came online. Technologies that had been theoretical yesterday were being deployed today. The preparations had actually started long before the aliens arrived. Dr. Campbell's research into the possibility of alien contact had led to contingency plans that seemed like science fiction until they were desperately needed. Deep underground facilities in Nevada, Colorado, and Virginia housed weapons that no human had ever expected to use. Railgun batteries designed to fire projectiles at incredible speeds. Energy weapons powered by fusion reactors. Defense systems that could protect entire cities, but the most important preparation was psychological. Amy Walsh had spent her career studying how to break enemy morale, and she had a plan for the aliens. "Colonel, I need access to their communication frequencies," Walsh told Brooks. "What do you have in mind, Sergeant?" "These aliens have been bullying civilizations for centuries. They're used to being feared, but fear works both ways. If we can make them afraid of us, their whole system falls apart." In space stations hidden behind the moon, human crews were making final checks on weapon systems that had been disguised as scientific equipment. Commander Roy Martinez was coordinating Pacific Theater operations from a facility that officially didn't exist. "All stations report ready," Martinez told Admiral Morrison over encrypted channels. "If they want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget." Captain Helen Wright was doing the same thing from a bunker beneath London. "European assets are in position, Admiral. Our alien friends are in for quite a surprise." As the final hours ticked down, the contrast between human and alien behavior became even more obvious. Humans were calm, prepared, and determined. The aliens were increasingly frantic in their communications, constantly requesting guidance from higher authorities. President Turner spent the evening before the deadline having dinner with his family in the White House residence. When reporters asked if he was worried about the alien response, he smiled. "I've been dealing with bullies my whole life," Turner said. "The secret is that they're always more scared than they let on. Tomorrow, the whole galaxy is going to learn something important about humanity." "What's that, Mr. President?" "We don't back down, we don't give up, and we definitely don't surrender to anyone who threatens our families." As midnight approached, the alien fleet remained in position over Earth cities, but they were no longer the confident conquerors who had arrived 3 days earlier. They were confused, frightened, and about to learn why humans had never been conquered by anyone. The deadline arrived at exactly noon Washington time. War Prime Zethkar gave the order to begin the destruction of Earth's major cities. Energy beams as thick as buildings lanced down from the alien ships toward the centers of human civilization, but something impossible happened. The beams struck invisible barriers and stopped. Massive shield generators, hidden beneath every major city, powered up and created protective domes of pure energy. The alien weapons, designed to turn cities into glass, did nothing more than create pretty light shows in the sky. Impossible, Zethkar screamed in his command chamber aboard the lead ship. "No primitive species possesses such technology." What the War Prime didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this day. Long before his fleet arrived, Dr. Campbell's theoretical research into alien contact had led to secret government programs that most people never knew existed. For 20 years, the brightest human minds had been asking one question: what if hostile aliens attacked Earth? The answer was buried in underground facilities around the world. In Colorado, Colonel Brooks activated Operation Prometheus. Hidden doors opened in mountainsides across North America. Massive railgun batteries emerged from camouflage positions, their barrels pointed directly at the alien fleet. All stations, this is command, Brooks spoke into his headset. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to teach our visitors about human hospitality. Fire at will. The first salvo launched from Earth's surface at 20% of light speed. Tungsten rods the size of telephone poles streaked upward, leaving trails of superheated air behind them. The aliens, who had never bothered with defensive screens because no one had ever shot back, watched in horror as the projectiles slammed into their ships. 3 alien vessels exploded instantly. The ships were designed to intimidate and destroy helpless planets, not to fight actual battles. They had powerful weapons but weak armor. The human railgun rounds punched through their hulls like bullets through paper. Commander Roy Martinez coordinated the Pacific response from his secret base in Hawaii. Submarine-launched missiles broke the surface of the ocean and accelerated toward the alien ships hovering over Asian cities. Each missile carried a tungsten penetrator designed specifically to punch through alien hull materials. Target the ship over Tokyo first, Martinez ordered. Then hit the ones over Beijing and Seoul. The missiles found their targets. 2 more alien ships erupted in brilliant fireballs that could be seen from hundreds of miles away. Captain Helen Wright directed European operations from her bunker beneath London. Hidden installations across the continent added their firepower to the barrage. Electromagnetic pulse weapons disabled alien systems while kinetic penetrators destroyed ship after ship. European theater reporting successful strikes, Wright reported to Admiral Morrison. The aliens are breaking formation over major cities. They're trying to retreat to higher orbit. But the most devastating human weapon wasn't technological. It was psychological. Sergeant Amy Walsh had cracked the alien communication frequencies, and now she put her plan into action. Her voice, translated into perfect alien language, carried across every hegemony communication channel. Attention hegemony. Forces, Walsh began, her voice calm and professional. This is Sergeant Amy Walsh of the Human Defense Force. You came here expecting sheep. You found wolves. The effect on alien morale was immediate. Ship commanders who had never heard enemy voices on their communication network suddenly had a human talking directly to them. Every shot we fire kills dozens of your people, Walsh continued. Every minute you stay in our system, more of you die. Look around you, count your dead. Ask yourself, is this what your families wanted when you left home? Alien communications erupted in chaos. Individual ship commanders began questioning orders, demanding to know why they hadn't been told humans could fight back. Junior officers asked superiors why their ships had no shields, why there were no battle protocols, why no one had prepared them for actual combat. War Prime Zethkar tried to restore order, but his voice was lost in the panic spreading through his fleet. Ships that had never fired a shot in anger were being destroyed by enemies. They had dismissed as PRIMITIVES. Dr. Campbell was monitoring alien communications from her laboratory, and what she heard amazed her. Kevin, listen to this. They're not just scared, they're completely lost. They have no idea how to fight a real war. What are they saying? Kevin asked, adjusting his translation equipment. Ship commanders are asking for combat guidance and battle protocols. Others are demanding to know why their weapons can't penetrate our shields. Some are asking permission to retreat. But the humans weren't finished. President Turner had authorized the deployment of weapons that had been theoretical just days before. Energy cannons powered by fusion reactors fired coherent beams that sliced through alien hulls like hot knives through butter. From space stations hidden behind the moon, human crews launched surprise attacks on the rear of the alien formation. The hegemony had positioned their ships to intimidate Earth's population, not to defend against attack from multiple directions. This is Lunar Base 1, came the voice of Commander Lisa Park over the communication network. We have clear shots at their command ships, engaging now. The hidden lunar installations fired concentrated bursts of particle beam weapons. The alien flagship, War Prime Zethkar's personal command vessel, shuddered under the impact. Emergency alarms echoed through its corridors as systems failed throughout the ship. War Prime One of his subordinates called out, "We're losing structural integrity. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 15. The humans have weapons we never expected." Zethkar stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. His fleet, which had intimidated 800 worlds into surrender, was being systematically destroyed by a species he had called primitive just hours before. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said they had no advanced technology. Our scouts reported only basic nuclear weapons and chemical rockets." What Zethkar didn't understand was that humans were very good at hiding their true capabilities. The weapons destroying his fleet had been built in secret, tested in secret, and deployed in secret. Earth had appeared helpless because humans wanted it to appear helpless. Amy Walsh continued her psychological warfare campaign. "Hegemony ships, this is your final warning. We know about your 847 conquered worlds. We know you've never fought a real battle. We know your entire empire is built on fear and intimidation." Her words hit their target. Across the alien fleet, crews who had believed they were invincible warriors realized they were nothing more than cosmic bullies who had finally met someone willing to fight back. "Look at your casualty reports," Walsh continued. "Count your dead. Ships, ask yourself, do you really want to be the first hegemony fleet in history to be completely destroyed? Because that's what's going to happen if you don't leave our system right now." The psychological pressure was too much. Individual alien ships began breaking formation and fleeing toward the edge of the solar system. What had started as an organized fleet became a panicked rout as ship after ship abandoned the battle. War Prime Zethkar tried to rally his remaining forces, but it was too late. His own crew was questioning his orders, demanding to know why they had been sent to fight an enemy that was clearly more advanced than their intelligence had suggested. "War Prime," his chief navigator said, "we've lost over 60% of the fleet. The humans have weapons we've never encountered. Request permission to withdraw to a safe distance." "Never!" Zethkar screamed. "The hegemony does not retreat. We do not surrender to inferior species." But even as he spoke, more of his ships were exploding under human fire. The species he had called primitive was systematically destroying the most powerful fleet in hegemony history. Colonel Brooks watched the battle from his command center and allowed himself a small smile. "Sergeant Walsh, I think it's time for your final message." Walsh nodded and opened the communication channel one last time. "War Prime Zethkar, this is humanity's final offer. Leave our system now, and we'll let your remaining ships go home. Stay, and we'll make sure none of you ever see your families again. You have 5 minutes to decide." The War Prime looked at his tactical display. Half his fleet was gone. His flagship was dying around him. His crew was on the verge of mutiny. For the first time in his life, he was facing an enemy that refused to be intimidated. "All ships," he said quietly into his communicator, "prepare for emergency withdrawal from the human system." 6 hours after the battle began, the hegemony fleet was in full retreat. More than half their ships were destroyed or too damaged to fight. The survivors fled the solar system at maximum speed, leaving behind burning wreckage that lit up Earth's night sky like falling stars. War Prime Zethkar's final transmission was barely understandable. His voice was broken, his words mixed with static and what sounded like alien curse words. "This is not over, humans," he stammered. "The hegemony will return with more ships, more weapons. You cannot defeat us all." But everyone who heard the message knew it was the desperate threat of a broken bully. The mighty hegemony fleet had been destroyed by a species they called primitive, and the entire galaxy would know about it within days. President Turner stood once again before the cameras, but this time his backdrop was very different. Behind him, the burning wreckage of an alien ship smoldered in the Potomac River. Salvage crews were already working to recover alien technology, while keeping curious tourists at a safe distance. "Citizens of Earth," Turner began, "6 hours ago the hegemony of worlds attacked our planet. They came here expecting easy conquest. They found something very different. Around the world, people had gathered to watch the president's victory speech. In Times Square, the crowds cheered every word. In London, pub patrons raised their glasses. In Tokyo, families celebrated in the streets beneath clear skies where alien ships no longer cast shadows. Today we learned something important about our place in the universe, Turner continued. We are not alone, but we are also not defenseless. We are not the primitives some aliens think we are, and we are definitely not pushovers. The celebration was worldwide, but the real work was just beginning. Dr. Campbell and Kevin Park were in their laboratory analyzing data recovered from destroyed alien ships. What they found was more remarkable than anyone had imagined. Kevin, look at this, Campbell said, staring at her computer screen. The alien databases contain records of every world the hegemony has conquered. 847 planets. And not one of them ever fought back. Kevin pulled up the historical records on his screen. Doctor, this is incredible. The same pattern every single time. The hegemony shows up, gives their ultimatum, and the planet surrenders within 72 hours. Every time. We're the first, Campbell realized. In 3,000 years of hegemony expansion, we're the first species to say no. The implications were staggering. The hegemony had built their entire empire on bluff and intimidation. They had never developed real military tactics because they had never needed them. Their ships were designed to look scary, not to fight battles. Colonel Brooks was already planning humanity's next moves. In his secure command center, he met with his senior staff to discuss the intelligence they had gathered from alien wreckage. The good news, Sergeant Amy Walsh reported, is that their technology isn't as advanced as we thought. Their weapons are powerful but crude. Their ships are big but poorly armored. They've been getting by on reputation alone. What's the bad news? Brooks asked. Staff Sergeant Chris Murphy answered. The bad news is that they have a lot of ships. The fleet that attacked us was just one of dozens. If they decide to come back, Enforce will need help. But help was already on the way. Within days of Earth's victory, human communication systems began receiving messages from across the galaxy. The news of humanity's successful resistance had spread faster than the hegemony could contain it. The first message came from a world called Kepler 442b. Their transmission was simple but powerful. Humans of Earth, we heard about your victory. Our world surrendered to the hegemony 50 years ago. Can you teach us how to fight back? More messages followed. Dozens of worlds that had submitted to hegemony rule were rising in rebellion, inspired by Earth's example. They wanted human advisors, human weapons, and most importantly, human courage. President Turner called an emergency session of the United Nations. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to discuss humanity's new role in galactic affairs. We have become something we never expected to be, Turner told the assembly. We are the spark that has lit a fire of rebellion across the galaxy. Oppressed worlds are looking to us for leadership in their fight for freedom. The vote was unanimous. Earth would help any world that wanted to throw off hegemony rule. But they would do it the human way, with smart tactics, hidden preparations, and the kind of stubborn refusal to surrender that had made Earth's victory possible. Colonel Brooks was promoted to general and given command of humanity's first interstellar military force. Amy Walsh became Earth's first ambassador to what would become known as the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Commander Roy Martinez designed the human fleet that would carry the fight to hegemony space, but perhaps the most human touch came from an unexpected source. When the first alien refugees arrived at Earth seeking sanctuary from hegemony retaliation, they were not met by soldiers or government officials. Instead, they were greeted at the spaceport by volunteers offering coffee, sandwiches, and welcome packets. The refugees were members of species that had rebelled against the hegemony and lost. They expected to be treated as failures or beggars. Instead, they found themselves welcomed as heroes who had tried to fight back. Maria Santos, who had sold hot dogs in Times Square during the invasion, was now running a food truck at the spaceport. These folks fought the same bullies we did, she told reporters. The least we can do is make sure they get a good meal and know they're safe here. The welcome packets contained a simple message. Welcome to Earth. We judge people by their actions, not their appearance. The bullies who threatened you made the mistake of threatening us too. Don't worry, we have your back now. Within months, Earth had become the center of the largest rebellion in galactic history. Human advisors were training freedom fighters on dozens of worlds. Human engineers were building weapons for species that had forgotten how to fight. Human psychologists were teaching aliens how to overcome centuries of learned helplessness. The hegemony tried to respond, but their empire was crumbling faster than they could reinforce it. Worlds that had been loyal subjects for generations were suddenly demanding independence. Their fleet commanders, accustomed to easy victories, found themselves facing enemies who had learned human tactics. Dr. Campbell established the Galactic Research Institute, where human and alien scientists worked together to develop new technologies. Kevin Park became the head of the Institute's communication division, helping former hegemony worlds coordinate their rebellion efforts. Dr. Campbell, Kevin said one day as they watched alien refugees and human volunteers working together in the lab, "Do you think we did the right thing?" Campbell smiled as she watched a human engineer teaching an alien mechanic how to build shield generators. "Kevin, 3 months ago we were alone in the universe. Now we're part of a galactic community fighting for freedom. I'd say we did exactly the right thing." 6 months after the failed invasion, President Turner received a message that made him laugh out loud. It came from the Galactic Council, an organization of free worlds that had formed in the wake of humanity's victory. The message was formal and diplomatic, but its meaning was clear. They wanted Earth to join an alliance of species committed to defending freedom throughout the galaxy. They offered humanity a place of honor among the stars, recognition as the species that had broken the hegemony's power, and a chance to help shape the future of galactic civilization. Turner's response was typically human. "We'll need to discuss terms, but we're interested. Fair warning, though, we're bringing our own snacks to the negotiations." As Earth's first interstellar diplomatic mission prepared to depart, Dr. Campbell made one final log entry in her research journal. "Today we learned that the universe is full of bullies who have never been punched in the nose. Fortunately, humans have been practicing that particular skill for thousands of years. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place." The human age of interstellar diplomacy had begun. It started with laughter, continued with determination, and was built on a simple principle that humans understood better than any other species: freedom is worth fighting for, and bullies only stay in power as long as good people are afraid to stand up to them. The stars were calling, and humanity was ready to answer.